On the eve of his departure from Moscow, he told his, "You have recognized the truth that in extirpating all social evils, one has to go to the root, and the only way to it is through education." In Russia, as well as in other countries that he visited on this tour, Rabindranath held exhibitions of his paintings. At the age of 70, Rabindranath had found a new outlet for his creative urge. It was astonishing the way it started. In 1931, the leading citizens of Calcutta united in an appeal to observe the poet's 70th birthday. It was celebrated in a manner that was truly worthy of the occasion. The Golden Book of Tagore was a testimony to the love and reverence that the intellectuals of the world bore for Rabindranath. Its sponsors consisted of 3 Europeans and 2 Indians. There was Romain Rolland from France, Albert Einstein from Germany, the poet Costas Palamas from Greece. The Indians consisted of the scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose, who had been the poet's closest friend for 40 years. The other Indian was Mahatma Gandhi. In physical appearance and in general outlook, the two differed considerably. At several moments of crisis in India's political history, the two had disagreed over the course of action, but these were on the surface. Their deeper affinity transcended all occasional barriers.
This is Sangeet Mahabharati, in the heart of Juhu, in Bombay. Established in 1956, this institute has been dedicated to the propagation and research of Indian classical music. What am I doing here? Well, I'm here to introduce to you the founder of this institute, who is none other than the doyen of Indian classical music, Sri Nikhil Ghosh. And if we are meeting him at the institute instead of his home, it's simply because around 18 hours out of 24 he spent at the institute. Shall we go and meet him now?
Hello, Luku. How you are here today? How are you?
I'm fine. I thought I'd drop in and ask you to share some of your views and your vast experience.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll definitely do my best. Okay, Anish, I think you practice all these things and think of the further development. Okay?
Dada, you have spent almost your entire life in the pursuit and propagation of music. Do tell us, how did this love affair with music begin?
See, Luku, it happened like this. Since what I have seen, since 3 generations, music has been cultured in our family. My grandfather was a very good Dhruva singer, and also he used to play pakhavaj. And my father was an excellent sitar player, learned from Seniya Gharana. And my brother, all my brothers and sisters, they were all inspired in music because of the atmosphere in the home, plus the natural environment. Our house is established just on the bank of a river.
I see.
And which, across the river, the large paddy field which ends into the horizon. So that both these
The entire atmosphere.
has inspired me more. And my brother flute,
Of course.
another course is no. So he did establish as a professional musician, and I followed his footsteps to become a professional musician. Finally, actually, originally I was a vocalist. I used to learn vocal music, all types of vocal music, especially classical and also semi-classical, plus folk songs, etc. All these things. And then I used to, although I did continue my tabla playing, which I used to play since childhood, but time changed when I had to decide which one between the two I should take as my career. So,
But how did you imbibe your art?
imbibing means, originally it was in my blood. It is already in my blood. Plus, I learned from my father, from my elder brother. Then I learned from, in a formal way, under some great masters like Bipin Chatterjee, first, and then Kirana Gharana, who had Khansab's disciple, Firoz Nizam. I learned vocal music, but simultaneously, and also Gyan Prakash Ghosh, under whom I learned both vocal and tabla.
So what was the turning point, Dada? What made you decide to specialize in tabla, and how?
It is a very touching occasion what happened. I continued both as long as I could, but I had to decide, but I started asking all the existing top musicians, can you help me? Which one should be proper for me? Nobody could decide, nobody could help me. They said, when you sing like a professional vocalist. When you play tabla, you play like a professional tabla player. But it is very difficult for us to decide. You decide yourself. But I could not. Finally, in 1943-44, I was working as the assistant of my Guruji Ghosh, who was giving music in a film here in Bombay. That one evening I asked him, now today is the final day, you please help me.
I see.
So he gave a careful thought, and he asked me 2-3 questions, very serious questions. One, he asked, are you prepared to sacrifice? But young blood, you know, I says, I am prepared to do anything, give my life for the cause of music, whatever you decide. Today is the final day. So he said, sacrifice, I asked, of course, sacrifice means in what way? He said, you know, prestige-wise, and also labor-wise and financial-wise, all these things you have to face the problems. I said, okay, I'm prepared. Then he said, then take up tabla. Because tabla is a subject, a very highly developed subject, which has not yet totally come in our society, educated society, and this so-called connoisseurs. So you better learn that more deeply and bring it and spread it.
I see. You established this institute way back in 1956. Did you face any special problems, any difficulties?
That was, to be very candid, perhaps more than the facilities, number of problems were much more.
I see.
Namely, I have learned in a traditional way, which is called in Urdu, Sina Pasina Talim. But when I started the school in 1956 in a small way, I found it's very difficult to conduct a class comprising several students coming from different communities and language, age group, aptitude, etc., etc. All these. That was a problem. So I gradually started making research on this. And then it took time, but it came out with a solution, how to conduct a class, an institution. And then all the problems in conducting a music academy, one by one I started solving. So one of them was a system of notation, which I solved. It took me 10 years for making research and experimentation. Experimentation means in the class, my students were my guinea pigs. So yes. I made experimentation with the help of my students and staff. So that enabled me to come to a conclusion that a new system, which I have published in '69, new system of notation, which is called major-minor consonantal notation. So covering all the ornamentations, including instrumentation. Nice. What I mean by saying instrumentation is the technique of instrumentation. It's also covered in the same notation.
I see. But Dada, I actually wanted to know whether you had any financial constraints or any other kind of constraints.
That is, since the beginning, even now, perhaps it will remain for some time more, because the entire academy which I had started in '56, now it has grown up. Now we have about more than 500 students here, learning different disciplines of music, instrumental, vocal, light vocal, classical vocal, folk, then percussion, then all these branches are going on, all the students are learning, and among the students, and I have divided the entire education system into 2 parts. One is professional, that is career making, and other is mass education, so that music reaches as many homes as possible.
You have also undertaken a huge encyclopedia project. Tell us something about it, Dada.
Yes, it is a continuous